Knuckleheads, Uncle Knackers here. Big day today. Finally, after 8 long months, I'm going to build myself a workbench for my garage. But the first thing I had to do was clean the garage out. What a nightmare! I have to have a garage sale. Seriously, it is doing my head in. Anyway, let's get this show on the road. Now, for my workbench, I need 2, maybe 3 requirements. It's got to be tough, it's got to be sturdy, and it's got to be cheap. And I think I have just the plan that covers all those areas. So let's get this build kicked off by making the legs. Now, when making the leg for your workbench, there's no hard and fast rule. You can use any material you like, really. I've chosen 90 by 35 pine, 2 pieces screwed together to form one solid post. Now, I'll put one together and it looks like this. Now, you'll notice how one of these pieces is 90mm shorter than the other, and there's a good reason for that. A lot of guys just bolt the rail to the side of the post. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're relying entirely upon those bolts to hold the rail in place. This method, the rail sits in that checkout, making for an extremely strong joint. Now that's my type of workbench. Now there's one more thing we need to do to this post to finish it off. We've got our checkout here for our front rail to sit into, but we also need a checkout for the side rail to fit into, just like that. So it's a process of removing this little section of timber here. Now before you say, oh, that's too complicated, it's really simple, and I'll show you how to do it right now. Because the rails we're using are 35mm wide, we need to set our circular saw to a depth of 35mm. Now just a quick little circular saw tip before we start cutting. You'll notice that the blade is right here. It's not plugged in, by the way. And it's a large section of base plate from the blade to here, and a little section of base plate from the blade to there. You want this section, the big section of base plate, to be on this bit of wood here. You don't want it to be hanging over the edge of your timber, otherwise the circular saw isn't going to sit right, and it's going to tend to tilt, and you don't want that. So let's cut this timber out now. There you go, it's all cut. That wasn't hard, was it? Now all we need to do is to chisel this stuff out. Now, you could just bash it out, but if you want a really neat finish, this is what I do. And especially if you haven't done this before, is get a square or something straight, and just where these cuts finish, draw a line with your pencil. And what that does is it gives a nice reference point for us to put our chisel, therefore ensuring a really clean, straight cut. Now just take your time, there's no mad rush. Just line your chisel up and just gently tap away, working away along that line you just marked. So there you have it, a beautifully cut and checked out workbench leg. Now all you need to do is to drop your rail into those checkouts and screw it off. Now the beauty of this join over the other method of just bolting the rail to the side of the post only is that you finish up with a join that's nice and flush, so it's nice and clean, and it's extremely strong. So for the extra bit of time that it takes to do it, it's well worth the effort. So we've cut the legs, now it's time for the rails. Now for my particular workbench, I need to cut 2 long lengths at 1880 and 2 shorter lengths at 570mm. Now you'll also notice that I've cut my rails on a 45-degree angle. There's a good reason for that, and I'll explain it shortly. Now very quickly before I screw these rails together, I just want to show you why I like to cut the rail on a 45-degree angle. You finish up with a really nice, neat corner, as opposed to just butting the two rails together like that. It's just as good, but you have that end grain showing, which I don't particularly like. But anyway, like I said, it's all personal choice. Now I like to keep all my screws in a nice straight line. So I'll line my boards up, then get my square, and just run a line through. Just a light line, all the way through like that. And that way all my screws are going to line up nicely. Next, what you'll need to do is to pre-drill the holes with a countersinking bit. It'll stop your timber from splitting. With the screws partially started, it's time to screw this thing together. So put the two pieces together and screw away. Beautiful. So there you go, frame made. Now it's time to put the legs on. And now it's time to install the legs. Just simply drop it in place and it should be nice and flush with both surfaces. And you'll notice that I have two screws here and one screw there. And shortly I'll be putting in two more bolts right here. So next thing you need to do is to make sure that your leg is nice and straight. There you go, it's nice and square, like that. You could clamp it in place if you want to. And now just screw it off. One, two, three. And there you have it, all screwed off. Now all we need to do is put two bolts through here and repeat that process for the other three legs, and we're done. To drill the hole for the bolts, I've got a 10mm timber drill bit. And now insert the bolt. And then put on the washer and nut. So here it is, the basic frame fully assembled. And I have to say that it's feeling really solid. And I think that's due to the type of joint that we used to attach these posts. So I can highly recommend it. Next thing we need to do is add some extra support for our bench top. And you do that by adding these noggins. So just fit in like that and you screw it off. I've pre-drilled some screw holes with my countersinking drill bit. Now all you need to do is screw these babies off. So there you go, it's all screwed off. Now that's going to make the top extremely solid. Now I want to add a shelf down here, which will serve two purposes. It'll brace the legs and make the bench more solid, and also it'll give us some extra storage. With the shelf frame now in place, it's now time to install the ply to the top of the workbench and to the top of the storage shelf. Now I'm going to cut this ply 40mm bigger all the way around than the frame. And you also notice that if you want to cut a nice straight line over a long distance, it's a good idea to clamp down something like a level or a straight edge or a straight piece of timber, clamp it off, and then run your saw along that edge, and you'll finish up with a beautiful, clean, straight cut. Alrighty, we're on the home stretch. It's time to glue and screw these shelves down. Now before you glue anything, I like to dry fit the whole thing first. So position your shelves, or position your ply, and mark where our screws are going to go. So following the noggin screws that we have here, just run those across the ply using a square or a level. Now the overhang that we have is 40mm. So what I've done is I've cut a block 40mm wide, and I've clamped it to the edge of the ply. That way, you just push the ply across, and when the block hits, we have our 40mm overhang. That's a good little trick. Okay, let's get some glue down. Okay, let's put this board on top. Lovely. Get our gap at the end, which is 40mm. That's it. Hard up against the edge on those blocks. Like that. Okay, it's time to screw off. Check it out! All done. Now that's what I call a workbench. Let's check this rig out a bit more closely. Now, you see there all the screws line up nicely, and I've also added a trim that I've nailed to the edge of the ply top. That's just to protect the ply from any damage. And it looks better. Got the corners all nicely mited. Down to the end, down to the shelf. Done the same thing. Put a trim on the edge, just there, just to protect the edge of the ply. So there you have it. I finally have my own garage workbench. What a top little project. Great tip, Knackers! And as per usual, if you found this video useful, subscribe to my channel. The button's down there. Thumbs up, the button's down there as well. And don't forget to look me up on Facebook at DIY For Knuckleheads. Now also, I've left a list in the description box down below of the materials and some of the dimensions for this project. And don't take off just yet, because there'll be a couple of photos flashing backwards and forwards of this little beauty in various stages of construction. So till next time, happy building. I'm out of here. Cheers.